This video is sponsored by MPB. Martin Scorsese has been directing some of the most popular movies in contemporary American cinema over the past 50 years. From Taxi Driver, released in 1976, to 2013's Wolf of Wall Street, his movies have drawn crowds to the theaters, and he has garnered a lot of appreciation not only for his art, but also for his insights on art and creativity, which is exactly what we're going to be discussing today in our ongoing series of taking creative advice from filmmakers. And today, we'll be taking some time to learn from Martin Scorsese.
Up the daytime, moon lights up the night. I light up when you call my name, and you know I'm gonna treat you right. You give me fever when you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight, fever in the morning, fever all.
For this video, I actually got some really good resources, really interesting clips, and we're gonna start with this clip right here and what does it mean or what we can take from it.
One has to begin to, I think, reach younger people at an earlier age for them to shape their minds in a critical way of looking at these images and what they mean and how to interpret imagery. And I think in a more official way, I think, than just punching up on a computer or seeing something on a TV commercial or something like that. I think you really need to know. You need to know how ideas and emotions are expressed through a visual form. Now that form could be video, or film. It probably eventually would be digital video for a long time to come. But it still has the same rules, and it still has the same vocabulary, and it still has the same grammar, I should say. Really, the same grammar. And the grammar is panning left and right, tracking in or out, booming up and down, intercutting a certain way, use of a close-up as opposed to a medium shot. What is a medium shot? What is a long shot? All these sort of things, and how do you use all these elements and the different kinds of lighting, and how you use all these elements to make an emotional and psychological point to an audience.
As photographers, and honestly any type of visual creators out there, it is our goal to definitely understand how messages, meanings, and stories are built and communicated through imagery. With that, we garner two invaluable tools. One is the power of interpretation, critical thinking, looking at images, and learning to read them, become literate, if you will. And the second, but perhaps most important, is to utilize the same grammar or elements of a certain visual language that others have used to tell their own stories and apply them to the stories we want to tell or mix them with our own language. And this is why most of the work and core of what I do here on the channel is this look, analysis, and interpretation of different photographers and their work, so that we can learn things from them and eventually apply them into our own art. And so essentially what Scorsese is telling here, filmmakers, but we can also take that for us photographers, is to continue venturing, continue learning, and continue our, literacy in terms of visual storytelling. Looking at movies, looking at paintings, looking at photographers, looking at other people and their work is a great source of not only inspiration, but of course of learning. And we know we've talked about here on the channel of learning through experience, through observation, and through the study of things, and so our own experience shooting, making up things, projects, whatever you're working on, and then of course having that work on the side that allows you to, borrow elements, create different things, and take ideas. I think it's super important and relevant, and I think that's what I take from this clip. But let's talk about another interesting aspect that we can learn with Scorsese.
It's been an hour. It's under S. Under S. Oh. How could I have done this? There's no life to it at all. Oh, my nephew, say cheese. Good direction, Marty. Here This one, interesting, it's far too nostalgic. What do you think?
It's pretty.
Composition is forced, lighting is bad, angle is off. Too literal, too violent, too metaphorical, too dark. Here, we have the protagonist, but where's the antagonist? Huh? Where's the drama? Oh. Unavoidable. Gotta reshoot. Yeah, Timmy, that's your Uncle Marty. How'd you like to turn 5 again?
Now, this, besides being good and a funny commercial, actually mimics Scorsese's style. He's very critical of what he produces because he sets a higher standard for his art. He is able to detach from whatever feelings he has towards the project to objectively judge it, which is a great skill in on itself. Not only that, but when reflecting back on this commercial, he said that you have to take yourself seriously and you have to be serious about making a picture, which is also something that you have to be as a photographer or creative of some sort. You have to be serious about what you're doing or creating. And objectively speaking now, I can take this sort of idea of taking yourself seriously in two different ways. So you can take yourself, for instance, myself seriously. When I created my channel, I wanted to be serious about it. I didn't want to just put out something and just see if it, worked out. I wanted to have a certain standard. I wanted to have a certain commitment and put the work out there. But at the same time, I also think that taking what you do seriously and what the response to that in a serious manner, of course, you have to be able to sort of filter what is the criticism that you get and how that can be interpreted, if it's from a personal point of view, a taste, whatever, or if it's something constructive. And, over time, as I've been working on the channel, I've taken so much criticism, like good criticism on board that allowed me to progress.
This is Joe Bob, and Joe Bob was a professional fighter until a fatal loss left him looking for a new career. Not that, and not that either. Joe Bob wanted to be a photographer, but he didn't know where to start. A camera, some told him, a lens, a vision. And Joe Bob kept looking and looking until one day a mighty nice girl told him about MPB. The MPB had everything he ever needed. Used gear at more affordable prices, a 6-month warranty, and some advice on how to learn photography. Not only that, Joe Bob felt good reading all them people raving about MPB. So, naturally, Joe Bob decided right then and there on what gear to get for himself. And next thing he knew, he was back to the ring. Except this time, it was not about fighting.
So this point here is a mix between two quotes from different interviews that speak on similar ideas. And those are, quote, "You want to get films made that express what you have to say." And, quote, "Think about how you see scenes and use perspective and cuts to translate that vision." So when we look at the movies of Martin Scorsese, we see this idea of exploring certain themes. These movies carry a message with them, either overall or on a particular topic. Themes that he regularly seems to touch on, at least to me, seem to be related to redemption, hope, faith, and guilt, among other things like the American dream and etc. This to say that there's nothing wrong with just doing photography itself. But at the end of the day, it's nice to ask yourself, what is your message? What do you want to touch on or say through those images? Ansel Adams is a great example here. He's the example of someone who documented breathtaking landscapes and with it weighed on the heritage that we have, this natural heritage and this idea of protecting such beauty, which is an integral part of life here on Earth. Talking about landscape and heritage, there's this very famous movie from the 90s, Dances with Wolves, and if we look beyond the historical drama foreground, we'll discover that the background of this movie speaks on life, nature, and humanity. So for Scorsese, it's about intertwining these messages, themes, and ultimately his vision with entertainment. And look, at the end of the day, you do your photography, but I think it's interesting to ask yourself, what is the direction? Even if you don't want to think so deeply on a message and whatever you want to say, but maybe perhaps ask yourself, what is the direction you're taking? And I think that's enough to get you, some sort of guiding light towards like whatever style you're practicing, whatever genre you want to, go into, whatever you want to do, really. I think it's really important to ask ourselves these questions. I talk about this a lot when I do my one-to-ones. And I think like it's super important to ask yourself that to garner a sense of direction. And in here, I think it connects very well with the different points that we've been talking about, taking yourself seriously. So, what you want to say with your photography. And of course, because when we're producing photographs or anything visual, we really are producing it to be seen. So how do we want people to interpret what we're creating is also a great question that you can, perhaps think about when you're, observing your own photographs. Talking about, all of this of speaking on personal projects or art that we want to do, there's one key element to it all, and that is persistency. And there's this really interesting quote that Martin Scorsese has that speaks on this. And the quote is, I'm going to paraphrase it, but it goes around somewhat like this. The most successful in the film industry are not the geniuses, but the most patient. We've all understood at this stage, or hopefully we'll all comprehend in a point not that far into the future, the importance of persistency in artistic fields. And this message has never been more critical than now in this algorithmic, anxious age we all live in. Anything that is going to be substantial and lasting takes time to develop. Overnight success often overshadows the importance of being patient and persistent with your work. But even overnight success, more often than not, dictates a pressure or responsibility that people aren't equipped to deal with. And that is because all the material success you see people achieve is conquered based on the skills that took them years and life experience to develop. So you've got to be in it for the long haul. And I think this is a nice sort of way of closing this video with. I hope this video has been helpful in any way, shape, or form. I wanted to take, a minute to thank you so much for all the feedback, constructive, creative, that you give to the videos. How you respond to the videos is super, super helpful. Your suggestions, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch the videos. I'm super grateful to be able to be, in a position where I can make all these videos. I think it's amazing. And so I would have to massively thank you. Links will be in the description for FPB, the sponsor of today's video, if you want to check it out. But also, of course, links to my work, my book that I put out a few months back, Changing Light, and other things that you want to check out about my work or what I've been doing. You can do so. It's all down in the description. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel, and I'll see you around. So take care. Peace.